Thank you for joining us today at FIN, and thank you to the organization for inviting us to moderate this panel. It's quite interesting if we think about it that we are in Portugal talking about cooperation and globalization. This is a country that played a major role in the European age of discovery and exploration. And the Portuguese are amongst the first people that started thinking globally, started establishing pioneering trade channels and collaboration agreements. And if we fast forward to today, we're very fortunate that an amazing panel has been curated for us to talk in this country from different perspectives and multiple cultural viewpoints about such an important topic. So I hope that through these 60 minutes, you will enjoy and hear memorable insights. And please feel free also to be part of this panel, to raise your hand, to approach us, and to pose your questions online on the Q&A. I'll start off by introducing the speakers, then they'll do a brief presentation, and we'll proceed to a set of organized questions. So now I need to go through my notes because I don't know by heart. So I'll start with Anne. Anne Mulder joins us online today from Australia. Anne is the founder and CEO of the Small Business Association of Australia that represents over 60,000 SMEs and 38 industry partners. She has a 30-year background in business and is a firm believer in collaboration and working with other nations to benefit small businesses in cultural and economic areas. She believes that by nurturing entrepreneurial skills from a young age, we can foster more equality and sustainable growth towards globalization. Welcome, Anne. Bernardo Teotonio Pereira practiced law in both Portugal and Brazil. Kudos to you. He founded multiple companies, went through many bumpy roads, and ended up creating Firma to target special situations. He co-founded the CPLP Bank, financial institutions, and security firm associations. All of this while creating 4 children. This is not very common nowadays. Bernardo believes that working in network is key for successful businesses. He wears many hats, so to speak, and in this panel, he's representing Jeune, Young Entrepreneurs Organization for the European Union. Francisco Mendes, also online, is the CEO of VPM, a Portuguese company founded in 2010 that specializes in the areas of engineering, real estate consultancy, and investment. Francisco has overseen the management, appraisal, development, and acquisition of over 2 billion euros in retail, residential, and office properties. He is the vice president of the Young Entrepreneurs National Association since 2019, and he's also the Iberian vice president of FIJ, Ibero-American Federation of Young Entrepreneurs, which he is representing here today. Welcome, Francisco. Marehi Kvaramatse is a young leader, entrepreneur, and the winner of Forbes 30 Under 30 in Georgia. Marehi is the founder of Kant's Academy, and she has been engaged in civic activism and working on educational innovation, empowering and engaging a younger generation for the past 10 years. Her business was born from her desire to shape the context in which she would have wanted to grow in, and I hope she shares with you a little bit of her story because it's quite beautiful. She believes that the future is female, kudos to you too, and strives for women empowerment through different initiatives. Welcome, Marehi. So I'll follow this alphabetically, just like I've presented the speakers, and maybe I'll pass on the word to Anne if she can interact with us now so that she can present herself. Carolina, can we make this happen? Yeah? Okay, great. And if it doesn't happen, we'll pass on.
I do apologise. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. So I'm a bit like I'm working in the dark. So please excuse me, but I believe that you can hear me. How would you like me to start, please? Okay, thank you. I've got the message now. My name is Anne. This is so difficult. So sorry for everyone. And it's very hard for me as well. My name is Anne Nalder. I am the founder and CEO, Small Business Association of Australia. And greetings from Australia. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I represent small businesses that make up about 98 to nearly 100% of businesses globally. So there is a great opportunity for small business to play a vital role. They are made up of three groups: micros, small and medium. And I don't believe that there is enough inclusion of small businesses in the bigger picture. I'm on a number of committees, government. I feel that all that concentration on the on larger businesses, whereas small businesses can play a vital role. They can. There is also, I feel, many business owners and individuals feel left out through globalization. And I think tonight's forum, we need to look at how we can be inclusive and where they can play a vital role. And when you consider that the majority of the world's small business owners or businesses are small business owners, you can see that there is great talent and we need to be inclusive of that. Is there anything else that you'd like me to say, please? As I said, it's very difficult when you can hear me and I can't hear you.
I think we're fine. Thank you very much, Anne. You can hear me, but Carolina.
There's one more thing, if I can quickly add. I've just seen the work that we do. Yeah, thank you. Small business, we do a lot of things. We've actually created some initiatives which we are very proud of. The main thing is, the main 3 or 4 areas that we have done something very spectacular. We drafted the Small Business Charter of Australia that has the 10 pillars. We had our very first Small Business Summit. It was the International Small Business Summit on the fabulous Gold Coast in June this year. And we have also the consul for Japan, who was present. He launched our international forum. And our international forum is to promote cultural and economic ties with other countries, to present business-to-business opportunities for small business owners, and to share ideas as to how what other countries do regarding small business. So these are, and we also have a think tank which specialises in small business owners. During the pandemic, we have presented a lot of webinars for our business owners. Many of these are free. And we communicate with our business owners throughout Australia by electronic data mail out, so they get updates from us all the time. We do also have some physical events, just like many other organisations, business luncheons, networking nights and so forth. And we also help our small business owners in time of adversity, which is very, very important. So yes, so we are to the forefront. We believe we are a very modern, progressive organisation. And we believe that we're very much in future with world trends as well. We do believe in an inclusive society. We are a global economy. And I think, as I said earlier, this is where we can reach out and we need to build relationships globally.
Thank you, Anne, so much for your presentation. I'll pass on the word to Bernardo now.
I don't think, hello. It's a pleasure being here. I think you have done the fantastic introduction about us. What I can tell you, first of all, that our panel, of course, this is the global cooperation is a key of globalization, but I think in Portugal, we can say that the cooperation is a key for peace and is a key for our future. Without cooperation, we can have a globalization, of course, but without cooperation, Portugal would not be the key country that we are, a key country with a fantastic language. And our language is in fact the soft power that we have. That's why we are here. And good morning to everyone from our Lusophone speaking countries as well, that we are here to try to share this way of living, always cooperating with each other. But we have first to cooperate here with you as well, but here in Portugal, in our countries. And what we do in my business is exactly that. We start as a firma on an M&A, very simple activity, because M&A is possible, but in Portugal, the M doesn't exist because there's not mergers, only acquisitions and sellings. And now we are a special situation firm specializing on the needs that the companies needs in Portugal and abroad as well. Trying to bring the good money, because it depends. We have money, but we need to get the good money, the money who can cooperate with our country, with our needs, and not to gain an advantage when we are in a very difficult situation. So that's our way of working, trying to get better and to add value for our clients and for our country, but also through firma Global Alliance, what is exactly a key for the cooperation as well, where we have partners in several countries in the world, and we are always trying to bring more and more partners, because we cannot do business in this very competitive world without the others. And that's the key, and that's why I would like to. I'm here, and it's a pleasure to be here. And to conclude, To conclude, I would like just to say that it's a pleasure to be here, led by Inês, because we have done a fantastic job before this the panel. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Bernardo, for your kind words and for your presentation. We have a lot of your brain to pick on later on. I'll pass on the word then to Francisco now, who is online, so that he can have a word.
Good morning. Are you listening to me? Okay, I'm not 1% Sorry for not being there in person, but I caught something in my trip to Mexico, so I will try to talk slowly just to understand. So, good morning to everyone, and Inês, thank you for the brilliant and active English introduction. It was fantastic. I would like also to thank to AJEP for the invitation to be here today. And of course, it's a pleasure to participate on this panel in this event. So I am the Iberian representative of FISH, that is the Ibero-American Federation of Entrepreneurs. So I represent Portugal and Spain in FISH in behalf of the Portuguese National Association of Young Entrepreneurs, that's ANGE. So FISH was founded in 2008 and represents entities of entrepreneurs national associations from many countries. We currently bring together 15 countries, such as Portugal, Spain, Argentina, Mexico, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, and others. So we bring together more than 80,000 young entrepreneurs in a population of more than 600 million persons, what is a very huge market. So our main goal is to search for business, to develop through local international entities, and also to promote dialogue with governments, international organizations, and companies. Our vision is to contribute to the creation of a better Ibero-America in order to have more transparency and more sustainable development in this region. It's also important to mention that our mission is to search for business leadership, to develop companies, business cultures, and communities, and to achieve the constant transformation of the Ibero-American reality. Therefore, we try to develop future leaders with the identity of values and that FISH represents. So for me, it's a pleasure to be here today talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francisco. And to close this set of presentations with a golden key, Marichi, I will pass on the word to you then.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Gamarjoba. It's a pleasure for me to be here to address such a distinguished audience today to share my personal story and experience in the context of cooperation. I'm Marichi Guaramadze, an educator and entrepreneur, founder of Kansas Academy and civic activist. And I would like to share more my personal story and then discuss about the topic. Actually, that was my personal story, which led me to fight for self-empowerment, and unconsciously later it became a fight for empowering others. I remember that in the beginning there was word, Marichi, you have no future. This was told to a 12-year-old girl by the teacher who's supposed to be a guide for her through hardship times. But it was told to me when I was 12 years old. I was constantly raised up in an environment and conservative family and society, which told me that because I was a girl, I should have aimed for less, that I should not strive too much through passion, and instead choose the work which would be more feminine. And I thought that I would stop there, but here I'm today, and this miracle. And I think that words have a power, and words have a power to heal, to hurt, to empower, and in the end, it's our choice how and what we use them for. I've been engaging in civic activism, empowering children and youth in my country, in South Caucasus and Eastern Europe for past 10 years, initiating innovative educational programs for my country. Not only because it was my choice, but I think it was the only way for a girl born in post-Soviet country to survive and forge her path. And very first step of me toward this path was engaging in one of the biggest European Youth Network, EYP, European Youth Parliament, which inspired me later to become a Senate member of the organization, to be the head organizer of numerous international sessions in my country, and to engage over 300 students in Georgian parliament sessions and initiating legislative initiatives to the Parliament of Georgia. And later, me and my partner, we founded Georgian Youth Parliament, which was founded by the Minister of Education of Georgia, by the Parliament of Georgia, and we unified over 5,000 youngsters in Georgia. But not only local, but international partnerships and support was a part of my career path always. And it was a very crucial, it played a crucial role in my development. I would mention two biggest platforms. One is We Make Change, one of the biggest social movement based in London, UK, which unified over 15,000 change makers and over 25 local communities. And it was a pleasure for me to be a national president of this organization in Georgia and South Caucasus as well. And the second one, IMUNA, International Model United Nations Association based in New York, USA. And it was a pleasure for me to be the first representative of the organization in Eastern Europe, and awarded by IMUNA for developing MUN and UN values to my country and in the South Caucasus as well. And as I mentioned about in the beginning of the world, Marichi, you have no future. And I only remember these words 18 years later, when I was awarded by the most prestigious award, being one of the most successful young leader and entrepreneur in my country by Forbes 30 under 30. And I strongly believe that the words are the first sign of cooperation, which have the size to give a life solidarity, which in turn transactions to empowerment, and which ends and establish a cooperation. And I strongly believe that cooperation is really key to globalization, and cooperation is something which will be a part of our DNA, and we should all spread the DNA through the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marichi. I share your vision that words are our way to find understandings and to eventually reach action. So we have a set of questions prepared for our speakers so that we can start steering the waters and the discussion. But please, just like I said before, feel free to interact with us at any time, raise your hands, because this will be as enriching as your intervention. So I'll start with Francisco. Francisco, you are representing Jean here. What do you think is the role of associations in globalization? And maybe FIJ, sorry, and maybe if you can give some particular examples of FIJ, because it's easier for us to relate.
Ines, thank you. Well, that's an interesting question. We believe that our role is to be the voice of the reference of young entrepreneurs in order to influence the course of upcoming Ibero-America. Usually, our associates are small or medium entrepreneurs or companies, some of which based in countries with lots of social, political, and economic problems to solve. So it's even more difficult for them to start a business. Latin America is a complex region, but on the other hand, there is a huge opportunity market for development and investment. So we believe that working in these countries can be very challenging, and leaders can grow much more faster as entrepreneurs. So there is a huge demand of opportunities to explore in these markets. And in my opinion, associations can make the difference by adding value to the small companies. We really believe that the cooperation between associations enables contacts with other realities, exchange of knowledge, contacts, and development of international networking. So, as instance, for a young entrepreneur, a startup, to be part of an association like ours can be very supportive in the globalization because they can reduce lots of costs to go abroad. I mean, they can use, for instance, all offices of our association and partners network in many countries. In our Portuguese association, ANJ, that makes part of FIJ, young entrepreneurs can benefit from all the support to develop their companies, such as mentoring, marketing, legal support, communication, sales, networking, and business development. So with this privilege, they can compete with bigger companies without having so many resources. So to conclude, for sure, it's a very important to have the support of an association in this process of globalization. I have no doubt about that.
And do you have any specific examples of what kind of efforts can be made to promote the collaboration amongst businesses? And namely, in FIJ, you also are representing a number of countries that are eager to have partnerships into motion because they are also very dependable on that to grow and to develop. So maybe if you could share also that with us.
Yes, that's exactly one of our challenges is to promote collaboration between companies. We usually organize webinars, events to promote networking between companies in Latin America, to reinforce activities and also to develop management and leadership practice. So we believe that companies are stronger working together. And in my opinion, FIJ is perfect for that because the cooperation within the countries that belongs to FIJ and also the connections that we have in Europe, Asia, and also Africa, and also the partnerships that we have with associations like AGEPC, ANJ, Yes for Europe, FAJ, are very strategic for us, and also it can help the associations to grow and be more sustainable. And also, of course, it will help our companies to make more business. So I hope to have answered to your questions. I think we have all the ingredients to help companies and help in this process.
Thank you, Francisco. So big companies and small companies always take advantages of the efforts that are being made by these kinds of institutions, but it's not only up to them. And I know that Anne has a very particular vision about the role that small businesses can play in globalization, and especially in this post-pandemic period. So I'll pass on the word to you, Anne, for you to share that with us. Okay, so we're just writing to Anne so that she can answer us because she's struggling with listening to what we are saying here. It's always a challenge also in the world we live today to be a little bit patient, right? It seems like we're here waiting for 5 minutes, but it's actually
Small
just 30
businesses
seconds.
in Australia during the pandemic played a major role, but they were also restricted because although we are one country, we had and we've got 6 states and 2 territories. We were governed like 8 different countries because every state in Australia had some form of lockdown. For example, our international borders, we've only just recently been able to fly out, from example, from New South Wales and Victoria overseas. That's limited. And we also restricted and even barred our own citizens from coming back home. Now, all these lockdowns impacted very, very severely on small businesses, depending on where you lived. In Victoria, for example, Melbourne had the longest lockdown in the world's history, out of any country in the world. And they've only just recently come out with restrictions. So it's been a very, very tough year. You could probably say we've been set back by about 20 months because the pandemic started last year. The tourism industry has been very, very severely affected, and the hospitality industry, restaurants and cafes, have been particularly affected. So during the pandemic, it's been a tough period. When the government brought in a scheme last year, the Commonwealth government brought in a scheme. It had a scheme where it connected business owners to with their employees by having a program called JobKeeper. That kept the businesses and the workers connected. However, that was discontinued from the end of March of this year. And what happened after that was that businesses, small businesses particularly, but all businesses and their workers became disconnected because it was a different scheme. That in itself is a bad thing because now we have in Australia, due to border closures, including international, we have a very, very extreme shortage of workers in this country, a very, very large, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands, because we actually, during pre-pandemic, we used to have overseas workers coming to Australia, and they provided work in certain areas. Well, all that ceased. So that's become very tough. Now, even though some of the states have reopened their borders, some businesses cannot operate at full capacity because there is a shortage of workers. So during the pandemic, it's been a very, very negative effect. We don't know how things are going to end up at the end of the day because we don't have results at the moment as to what the impact, but there will be many businesses that have been destroyed. Many will go out of business. So it has not been a very good time, even though we've had a very good track record in containing the virus in Australia. The other issues are probably going to be more damaging. So it's a very negative answer that I have to say as to what has happened with small business during the pandemic and its role, because we've all been hamstrung.
Thank you, Anne. And earlier also when we were preparing this panel, you were telling me how people think that it's up to the governments and to the big institutions to move the change in the world towards more globalization, but you actually believe that it's up to the businesses too. So maybe I would like to ask you to share a little bit about what are your thoughts on this. What do you think that businesses can do to move the needle towards more cooperation, more globalization?
Okay, I've got your question. What we need to do is to foster relationships between countries, for example, because we do trade, and the world depends on trade. It's very important for small businesses to find new markets because of the pandemic, a lot of our supply chains have been disconnected. We need to provide opportunities for small businesses to do trade because international trade is still the dominance of larger corporations, and we need to be inclusive for small business. We need to also not be as reliant, I believe, on governments, because sometimes we tend to think that governments can solve all our problems. But at the end of the day, it's business to business that we need to do. We need to start a program, probably starting in year 1 in schools, for example, where it teaches students every facet of small business, and it has to be age appropriate. Because can you imagine, you can include entrepreneurship and a whole range of factors, all the things a small business owner is supposed to know and do. Can you imagine what that will do to the creativity of children as they grow up? They will have a greater understanding of business, and it doesn't matter what pathway they choose in their career and later life. That'll always be an advantage to them, because whether they go to university or work in a larger corporation or for a small business owner or a government, it doesn't matter. So to me, I think there's a lot of things we can do ourselves to create a greater awareness. And I think it has to start with our younger people starting in year 1. That is something that I would love to see introduced. I think it would be very innovative. It has to be interesting. And I think too, it'll give great confidence to students, because not every student grows up in a great family background. I mean, today we have a world that has full of problems, etc. That applies to children and their families. So can you imagine if you teach young children from an early age every single facet of small business? It will give them confidence. It will teach them public speaking, how to deal with governments, how to deal with staff, all the things that we as small business owners need to apply every day in our businesses. That to me would be terribly exciting. In Australia, for example, and I don't know whether you have it over in Portugal or any other parts of the world, but there is a television series called Master Chef. It's very high end. It's a cooking program. And they also have Junior Master Chef. And when you see what these young children can create, it's mind-boggling. Can you imagine if we open up their creativity through this sort of a program in the schools, what we can actually achieve? And that's where I think it begins.
Thank you so much, Anne. So we talked about associations and businesses, and we are starting to scope down into education and the role we can play on tomorrow's and the future generation. But before going into that and passing on the word to Marie, who's had her life work on this, I would actually like to ask a question to Bernardo, sorry, before we continue. Then still on the business side, and just picking up the thought of Anne regarding the role of businesses. I know that your work is also been exactly establishing strong alliances to support businesses to grow, just like she said. So can you tell us more about this?
So first, I completely agree with Anne. And this is the new world of on the point in how we can act with the governments. So I completely agree with Anne. Thank you very much for your point of view. It's fantastic that from Australia you can teach us how we can interact with our governments, and what we need from our governments, and especially on the business side, is not always to block our activity, but to help us, because a company without having a structure that we can live, it's impossible to be competitive, and it's impossible to survive in this very competitive world. About your question, yes, our opinion is, despite our businesses, advisory or investment, we cannot have all the solutions in our company. So we are always trying to understand exactly the need of our client and try to bring the best solution around the world. So doing always partnerships, not to think that we are the best, not to think that our team is the best. No, our focus is try always to bring the best solutions, the best people for our company, directly and indirectly, sharing everything that we can do, because it's better to solve an issue with others just to not solve an issue, and it's better to add value, to try to add value. And that's our view, and that's our point of view now. And finally, just to complete and to finalize that point, I think now, after the COVID-19 and etc., as a Portuguese, you know that we start the globalization 1.0. And the vision of the first globalization is completely different. We need to discover things, we need to discover resources, we need to discover new worlds. After that, we lived in the globalization 2.0. And the 2.0 is with blocks, with trading, with the new way to get some advantage from that resources. Finally, in 2007 to 2018, we start the globalization 3.0. And the 3.0 globalization was done through the new way of living, putting in connection different parts of the world, trying to do the same thing. After COVID, and even 2019, but November 2019, so on the same page, we start the globalization 4.0. And the globalization 4.0 now is, of course, with AI, a lot of technology. And now after, so where we can do business in Portugal, but completely abroad, and we are completely dependent from each other, even in Georgia and Portugal, it's quite the same. But now after COVID, what we are living is, we really need each other to get our resources and to get our iPads, iPhones, etc. We can have everything, but we need the other countries, we need the other companies, we need the other research so everybody is completely dependent from everybody. And that's the point of cooperation now. So now the cooperation with these new tensions in the world, new wars that we are living on, in water, in new resources, etc. We need each other, and we need to understand that without each other, we cannot survive in this fantastic world.
Thank you so much, Bernardo. It's quite an interesting, you said very interesting things, and you talked about something that actually connects to what Anne was saying before, and the way I would like to steer this towards now to Marechi, and it's related to people, that we need to cooperate amongst countries, and businesses need to cooperate, and everything actually starts with the people. And so scoping down from governments and associations to small businesses, I would like to go a step further and shed some light on what we can do to prepare the future generation for such a VUCA world that we live in. And I know that Marechi, this has been your life's work to prepare the younger generation for this. So to prepare them for the world of tomorrow, for the ambiguity. And I know that also cooperation played a big role in the birth of your business and in the growth. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you very much. So yes, I truly believe that the future of education is today, and COVID pandemic was a challenge for us, but an opportunity to reimagine the future of education. And yes, I've been engaging in educational policy in Georgia and in my region for past 10 years, and founded Kansas Academy in 2015, empowering children and youth with personal and professional personal and professional skills and knowledge to grow them up as a citizens of tomorrow to live in diverse world. And I believe that the one and very important thing in educational policy is like the future of how we see it. And I would like to agree with Anne that like entrepreneurship is not the future, but it's like the education of today. And we encourage entrepreneurial education in kids and children in Georgia, supported by U.S. Embassy of Georgia. And we started like 2 years ago. We started a project, Generation Z, and started like encouraging them with skills and knowledge of future technology, future professions, entrepreneurship from age 7 and 8 till 18. And I think like it's very important for them to provide with this kind of education. And yes, you mentioned like this partnerships plays a crucial role for us. And I would like to mention not only international but local institutions, like international institutions who like work in Georgia locally. Mention like a UNICEF and UN, which we are working with together. I would like to give you an example. We started working with UNICEF Georgia after COVID-19, responding the crisis, because like COVID-19 influenced the young generation so much, and the young generation is not like the most influenced generation, but it's out there influencers who can like influence to their peer, to their community and the globe. So we started a project encouraging like a personal and professional growth to youngsters and cover over 2,000 young generation in 10 regions of Georgia to provide them with high quality skills and education. And yes, and and yes, to sum up, I think that like entrepreneurial education is very important part of our educational system, and this is like the kind of value, kind of mindset and skills and knowledge as well to be taught and to start talking about it from like with kids from like kindergarten and from school as well. And I'd like and I would be happy to share with you our experience in the regard and in this context as well, what we do in Georgia and the region of South Caucasus. And it's really very interesting, like a kind of model, because we don't only teach them, but we give them opportunity to start their startups in the age of like a 12, 13, 14. And we had some such kind of experience when like the members of our community and our students started startups in like in their age of 14. And it like this was a very successful example. And it's kind of like an example which empowers another peers and another people and person from different communities, and especially from disadvantaged communities. This is like one of the effective way how we can like overcome and how can we deal with a crisis like COVID-19.
Thank you so much, Marie. Since I am the timekeeper of this panel, I know that this signal is ringing on the time of the of the panel, but not according to the delay that we had before. So I guess I still have some minutes. So I'll just ask a last question and open up for one or two questions from the audience. To Bernardo and Marie, actually, as a shared question. You are both business leaders and parents, so you are wearing these two, or you living these two personas like many people here most likely do. So I would like to know if you have any interesting experience to share with us, or any insight on how you can actually do this work at home. What happens? How do you deal with these two facets, and how do you prepare your children?
So kind of experience and like advice to you would be like a characteristic which helped me so much. Like I would mention like three most important things. Like one of the first and important is like a braveness. And me and Kant's Academy were based on the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, which like told us sapere aude, which means like a dare to know more. and dare not to only know more, but to act and act now. And it's very important. And braveness and curiosity and the readiness to empower others, to get empowered, it's very important. And I'd like to sum up on a philosophy of cooperation. For me, like a cooperation not only means like an interaction with each other, sharing views and ideas and learn from each other, but it means to empower other to get empowered. And I'd like to quote one of the famous Georgian poet from 12th century who quoted that what we give makes us richer, and what is harder it's lost, which means that if we empower others, we get empowered. And I believe that this is the only way to empower ourselves and to empower others and to encourage our community and the globe to be more prosperous, to be developed, and to survive in this crisis like COVID era. And so I believe there's a philosophy of Kent's Academy and the philosophy of me as well, which means like a sapere aude, which means like a be brave and dare to know more, is very important nowadays as well. And I think there is no age, no race, no nationality, and no gender to start over your career path and to start a new chapter of your life. Your future is today, and you should start with small, but with an action today. Thank you.
I agree with you, but I would like to put some other ideas. If you, I think it's important to fail fast, and when we are young, we have to fail, because only when we fail, we can learn. Another thing that I think is also important, and that's why I'm trying also to share with my students and with my friends and my partners, is we have to be interesting and interested. We have to know what is happening in the world, but also being part of that information, of that world, and not always be dependent on the expectations of the others. So do it and take your risk and do it, but do it. You don't think, do it now. Just do it.
Thank you so much to you both. Thank you to Francisco and Anne at home. And we still have some minutes, I can see here. I would like to open the panel to questions from the audience. If any of you would like to share something, ask something. Yes? Sure. I don't know if we have a mic, otherwise I can, yeah. A microphone is coming, if you would kindly like to just wait 10 seconds, I think. This has also been a patience and resilience path, this panel. Over here, this sir with the light blue tie.
Hi, Larry Moffitt. I'm on the advisory board of Jeune, and painted a very bleak picture of the impact of COVID and the lockdown measures on small businesses in Australia, and it's the same pretty much everywhere. But I wonder if you see any positive effects for small businesses and startups. I'm thinking, for example, of the growth in teleworking, which avoids the need to rent office space and commuting costs, the growth of e-commerce and online marketplaces like Amazon, which allows small businesses to serve customers worldwide, video conferencing, which allows you to meet with your business partners without long distance travel. So is there any source of competitive advantage there for small businesses?
Guess you are addressing the question to Anne?
No, just to anyone.
Open to everyone. So, Carolina, if you could just write it down to see if Anne would like to say some words. Otherwise, Francisco, Bernardo, or Marechi.
Yes, I think we are living a new world, and a new world of opportunities where we can manage better our time and where we can take more
Yes, I do. I think small businesses can play a vital role. Am I speaking at the right time? Okay. Small businesses can play a very, very vital role. It can solve unemployment issues. It can create, it is very innovative. Small businesses can create a lot of things, and we can have a very exciting period post the pandemic. Just to give you an example, between India, Japan, and Australia, there is some 42 million small businesses. Can you imagine if you multiply that by the number of small businesses in Europe, the USA, the UK, and we start cooperating and working together and provide opportunities for small businesses to trade globally and to do business, we can really do marvellous things. I do think there is too much of an emphasis pre-pandemic and even now on larger corporations. And I am not anti-large corporations because we deal with large corporations. But I think because you've got the word small business, I sometimes get the impression that small businesses are seen as irrelevant and unimportant. And yet these are very, very clever and smart people, because a small business owner, especially those who might be sole traders and in the very small sizes, they have to know every facet of running a business. If you put a CEO of a large corporation, they would not be able to run a small business because at their fingertips. They don't have to know about legal and a whole range of things. A small business owner does. So we need to place more emphasis and important, and we have to provide them with the tools to operate and to do business. And we must provide opportunities for them as well. And I think you will find that they are very crucial. In any recession, any downturn of an economy, the recovery is always from the ground up, not from the top down. So you start with small businesses, and sure, governments might provide some large scale projects, but it is small business. You get them on side, provide the opportunities, and you can have some pretty exciting economic stuff going on. So small business is the key.
Okay. Thanks, Anne. So just to answer you, the two advantages that I can see immediately, one is for SMEs, sometimes we have to have fantastic offices and etc. And now that all that cost has disappeared, we can do our business without having the image that we are quite a big the biggest company. So we can demonstrate that we can do all the business in our homes, in the garden, and seeing our children in the same time. So that's the first advantage that I'm seeing now, is the world is real now. I cannot give you an image of a new world. No, it's real. A second advantage that I can see is we have to manage our time, but it depends on us. You don't have a boss saying you have to stay here between these hours. And exactly what we have changed in our companies. It was we have decided to only work in our offices between Tuesday and Thursdays, despite all the discussions that we have with other companies, because they are afraid that on Monday and Friday people will not work. But we believe that we have to give a fantastic way of living to our people. So please, we have all the responsibility, and we are confident that you will going to do fantastic work. So that's the two advantages that I'm seeing now.
So I would like to add something. So yes, as I mentioned about also COVID-19 was an opportunity for us, and let me give some example. So we are a company based in Georgia. in Tbilisi, and our programs mostly are national programs. And COVID-19 gave us opportunity to start cooperating with regional countries, for example, with Armenia and Azerbaijan. And digitalization and innovations gave us opportunity to, with low cost, started spreading our educational models to another countries. And that was after COVID-19. We started an online programs like with different countries, mostly in our region. And the second one, I would like to mention that like a COVID-19 gave us historical opportunity to cooperate and foster the cooperation. And we should start with with kids and children, because our kids and children have the whole world in their fingertips. So we should just teach them how can they use this opportunity of cooperation and the opportunity of globalization for development. So I think like COVID-19 really has impacted to our community and mostly disadvantaged communities, but it's like a historical chance for us, firstly to reimagine our educational policy, and secondly, yeah, to reimagine the whole world and all the industry we have today.
Thank you for the question, and thank you all for the interaction. We are running out of time, so I will take the opportunity to offer our speakers a little question. We have 2 minutes. Can you take the mic? Yes. just sorry, can you use the mic? It's over there, just to make sure that everyone can hear you.
Hi, hello
Thank you.
everyone. Bruno Narca from Jan. So I would like to know what is the plans for the FIJ for the next year in terms of education and entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you. It's for me, no? Fish. Okay. Are you listening?
Yes. Yes.
So, okay. So just to give you an idea, FISH is it's a non-profit organization with a reduced budget. So we all are involved as a pro bono. So we believe that our passion is to make a better world in the next generation. So just to have an idea, I've been in Mexico, and our last president have made all his trips through FISH by his own pocket. So what brings us together is a passion. So our role in the world is to join all the countries that are involved in Latin America and also all over the world. So just to make a connection between what we are talking about and your answer, I just ask you to use, this is the moment to use the associations and organizations, because the world is much more competitive. After this pandemic, everything changed. What was Bernardo talking about, the globalization 4.0, it's happening. So we are here to help you. Our mission is to open doors you can use our office all over the world. So that's the way, because you can now, if you make software, you can hire something from India, from China. You don't need to have a physical office. You can just have a virtual office in Porto, Shanghai, Buenos Aires. Don't have it. The world is all connected. We have flights for everywhere. You have the internet. You have the networking. So our mission in FIJ and JAIP, all associations, is to help the people to grow. That's our mission. So please count on us. It's a pleasure to help you. Even by pro bono, we want a better world. So we are all together here, and it has been a pleasure. And please count on FIJ for everything you want. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you have a question, or do we have time for one more question, Carolina? Couldn't we take just 3 more minutes? I'm sorry. I hope you don't mind. This will certainly add something to the panel.
Is that okay to? Okay. First of all, thank you for the great panel and all the new ideas for this event. My name is Luciano. I'm from World Trade Center. I'm CEO of World Trade Center Lisboa. And my question is, our purpose is to increase the international trade in all over the countries that we are 92 countries in 330 cities. My question is not my question is just an advice for startup companies and innovation companies. What is the first step to be international? What your advice for a startup company to be global for anyone?
I'm sorry. What is my opinion about what is the first advice? What is your question? To understand.
What's your advice if you have a small company? We're here in the audience. What is your advice to be a first step to be international?
To be
international.
Okay. First, in my life, when any client or any company asks us for something, we need to understand what do you want, exactly what you want. Okay. After to know exactly what they want, because sometimes companies and the owners of the companies, they don't know what they want. They just know that they would like to have an advantage or have a business in China. But what do you want from China exactly? So after that, I have to manage and organize. If they have skills and they have all the utilities and the capacity, and is not the capacity, but the skills to go. But the first question that we always ask is, what exactly you want? That's my.
Okay. So if Francisco and Anne don't have anything to add, I will wrap up the panel. We talked a little bit about the role of associations, governments, small businesses, digitalization in the world of today. Thank you for the question, and what first steps and questions we should ask ourselves before thinking about internationalization. And we moved on to understand the role that we all have as business leaders, as parents, as uncles or aunts and friends into building the future of tomorrow through the younger generations. Thank you so much for the time you spent here with us today. I hope this added some valuable insights to your lives and to your future. And feel free to approach our speakers and myself at any time during this event. Have a wonderful lunchtime. And rest